you didn't see in the last state. Can you guys give me an example of dynamic website? A website where if you reload, there are changes in the front page or the page you are. Okay, Instagram, yes, YouTube. YouTube is a very good. Then we have you. Okay, a lot of YouTubes, Amazon, Reddit, Mail, cryptocurrency websites. Very good, Rohit. Yeah, Insta, YT. Yes, because each time we reload it, we don't see the same content appearing on the screen, right? So that is what a dynamic website is. Okay. So most of the times when you talk about web development, actually dealing with dynamic websites. Okay. So we have client development and server side development. Okay. So there are two components. Next slide, please. Okay. So for a website to work, you have two components, client side and a server side. They have their own set of developers to carry out various applications, to make applications. Okay, so client side, client means what? You, me, everyone website is a client. Okay, and server is just a machine which is used to connect a database with the client so that data can be between both of them. Okay, so the developers who develop client side and the developers who develop server side are two types of developers in development. Okay, let's see what are they. The guys who what happened? Yeah, very good, you are correct. Front end and back end. Next slide, next slide. Yes. So the people who develop the client side applications, they are called front end developers. Okay. And the ones who develop server side application, they are called back end developer. As simple as that. Their only difference is the stack we use. In development, we use HTML, CSS, JavaScript to create front end, and we also use various frameworks or libraries. Can you guys name any frameworks or libraries we used in front end? I saw a lot of people. Yes, Bootstrap, good. React.js, yes. React.js is to create front end. Okay. And there are also frameworks to create backend applications in various languages like Python, PHP, Java, Go, JavaScript, everything. Okay. Yes, yes. Next.js, CJS, very good. Yeah. So let's see what front end is. Okay. Next slide, please. Attending this session on your phone, Asim, saying what is difference between library and a framework. Okay, we'll discuss it at the end. A really deep topic. Okay, so you may be watching this on your phone, your laptop, your Samsung fridge, whatever runs internet. You may be watching on that. Yeah. So whatever screens you are watching, layouts that is presented to you, whatever chat that is visible to you, buttons and everything that was put in a place by a front-end developer, okay, using front-end technology, which we discussed earlier are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So what you see is the front end, okay? So whatever you see is front end, the data that is fetched that comes into backend. We'll get there soon. You guys understand front end, right? So give me an S, yes, if you understood front end, what front end is basically overview. We are not in deep into it yet. So yeah, thank you. Yes, yes. Okay. Now backend. Let's turn towards backend. I'll give you backend. So in many movies, you have seen this stereotype of image, right? In every hacking movie and stuff, they show that हमें server hack करना है, and they show random image of this various blue and all. Yeah. So these servers are nothing but computers with scripts which handle requests from the clients. Clients in the sense the front. Yeah, Silicon Valley scenes. Yes. Free Guy, very good. Yeah, Free Guy was the best example actually. Yeah, so whatever these servers are, these are just computers which have like they may have Linux operating system because it is minimal and all. Scripted to handle requests from the client and fetch them the data that is appropriate to them. Okay, so will data part how it is fetched and all. Okay, so as have the choice if you want to be a front end developer or a back end developer. Like interest in if you have interest in what's it designs and stuff, if you like to make very attractive visualize various drawings and stuff, so you must be a you will be a great front end developer. And if you are into writing logics, and all, then you should be a back end developer. Swanand is asking which is more easy and okay, so this is kind of a subjective question. Subjective. It depends. It depends on what you're making. Okay, so front end is good in its own way, and back end is good in its own way. If you are visualizations and stuff, you should be into front end. And if you like coding and all, if you like writing logic, I'm not saying that there's no coding in front end. You want to make really complex like complex designs, you have to use for coding in there. Okay, so yes, so correct. Interest depend on person to person. Aman is saying so servers have massive and non-existing graphics. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, Akhil, we are getting into it. So it's you want to be a front end developer or a back end developer, okay? But what if you are the chosen one, right? What if just being the front end guy or just it's like an attack to your ego? It's like hurts your ego to be just good in one thing. You want to be a perfectionist. Don't worry. There is a developer. Next slide, please. Yeah. So as Akhil said, full, full stack developer is a developer who has knowledge of both front applications. Okay, so he can communicate single application. Okay, in various big they have a dedicated team for a front end and dedicated team for a back. But in some companies they only hire one full stack guy and he takes care of both and back end. So in this tree diagram you may see various technologies listed for each. So for front end, you have HTML, CSS, JavaScript. There's more to it, but we have just given the basic ones. For the back end, you have Python, .NET, Java, Ruby, and all databases, DevOps, mobile, different types of development. We have already covered dev our Know Your Domain series. We have also set up a mobile app development workshop too by Pratham. Okay, so we have actually gone through each one of them. Okay, so don't worry. And talking about jobs, okay, what is this? Harshvardhan is saying, do we have projects where we can get real life experience? Real life experience, if you're talking about the industry, you have to do internships. But to get internship portfolio first, you have to show to the companies that hey, I know how to make websites and stuff. Yeah. So learn about everything about full stack development for getting started actually for making projects and all. Yes, Bhavesh, the Odin project also free. Yes, we are getting into it. We'll get into it later. Yeah. So let's okay, what is saying, begin with C++. Yeah, Parag, it's up to you actually. Can we do internship in second year? Yes, you can do internship in second year if you have enough knowledge about tech. Okay, so is software and web development same? Software is a different domain, but technologies may be the same. Web development is different in starting of second year. Okay, so let's keep the doubts for the end. And do in first year. First year is only for getting to know technology, learn the technologies in no time. You could literally start in the first year. Okay, so if you are actually interested into full stack and all, you can learn about technology one by one and go learn about go for it. So let's take this down. All your doubts will be answered in the end. Okay, we'll have different session for time for that. So let's move on to let's get deep into front now. So I'd like to call Varshita to explain more about front end.
Yes, thank you, Sumit. Thank you so much. Before we get into front end, I would like to ask you what you guys think front end is. What is the front end of a website? What is front end development? What do you think front end development is? Come on, guys. Design of a website. Yes, Advait. The part which is visible to the user. We're getting closer. Designing in graphics. Yes, yes. It is what the user sees or interfaces. Yes, yes, yes. Graphic design of a website, website looks, user interface. Yes. All of you guys are pretty much clear what the front end of a website is. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Many people have expectations of what a front end of a website would look like, what it is. Like many of you were just talking about designs, how it will look, how it will, what graphics it will have. Front end deals with GUI. Yes, interactive. Yes, there we're getting at the reality. So front end usually has two parts. First is the visually aesthetic ones, the ones which you can see, which you like, the color, the font, and stuff like that. And then there's the functionalities also, which comes later in the way. So when we're talking about websites, there is a lot going on when you're creating a website, right? What's specifically called the front end of a website is the user interface, as you guys already mentioned in the chat. You guys are very knowledgeable, guys. I don't know why I'm here. Which is basically the text, buttons, images, and views which enable the user to interact with the website, right? So front end development is basically the practice of creating those interactable interfaces. Next slide. To give you guys an analogy, suppose you guys need to go somewhere and you guys are broke, you want money, right? What you guys do, you won't just go to a pile of cash, pick some up, you don't know where it's coming from, you don't know how much it is, you don't do that, right? Because that would just break all the rules of banking. What you do is you go to an ATM. ATM here acts as the interface, which helps you interact with the data, that is the money. To if you go to an ATM, you put your PIN, you know that it's your account, you know how you put in the amount that you want, you know that how much amount you want from the ATM, and then you get the money. That acts as the interface to make sure that you're only getting the money that you need and from the correct account. Now think of the ATM as front-end development, which enables the user to access the data in a safe and a user-friendly way. Next slide. So what's in the stack, you might ask? Sumit already mentioned what's in the stack. It's basic HTML, JS, and CSS. What is the full form of HTML, JS, and CSS? Come on, guys, rapid fire. What is HTML? What is CSS? What is JavaScript? Oh, what is JS? I just told you the answer. Yes, HTML, hypertext markup language. CSS, guys, come on. Does anybody know the full form of CSS? Yes, we have answers. Advait, Zara. Yes, CSS is cascading style sheets. Now to elaborate, HTML is basically it helps create the UI elements on the screen. This acts as your skeleton of your website. These, like the buttons and all, the divisions, the sections, all of them are created by HTML. JS, JavaScript. We can also create elements using JavaScript. We can create elements using JavaScript libraries like React. There are more libraries and frameworks that you can use to manipulate how your front end will look like. But JavaScript mainly works with the event handling side of the front end. It handles events, it sends and receives on the back end, and it basically acts as your brains of the website. Next, we have CSS. As you guys said, cascading style sheets. These are a set of rules which define the style of your website. These are basically the clothes of your website. How cool do you look? How amazing you are? How people see you, right? Next slide. Now, Well, since we're talking about front-end development so much, you guys might be wondering, what are the important factors that you might face while working on front-end development? What do you guys think a front-end developer should do on a day-to-day basis? What should the person keep in mind? What should the front-end developer be wary of? Anybody? What do you see? What do you think the person should keep in mind? Yes, Aditi. How user would want to see the website? Yes, layout. Making the website look attractive and user friendly. Yes, very good. So next slide. The three main basic points that you have are, first is keeping up with the newest technologies. As you guys know that tooling and technologies are growing and changing at a very high rate, right? So you need to always stay up to date with what's going on, what are the current trends, what are the current fads, so that you can make your website look amazing and keep up with the latest standards. Next is creating easy to use websites, which are easy to use web pages, websites, which are accessible to anybody and everybody, regardless of where they're accessing the website from. So if you create a website, you need to make sure that it looks the perfect on your laptop, on your tablet, on your TV, on your mobile phone, on different operating systems. It should look the same in Windows, it should look the same in Ubuntu, it should look the same in different browsers as well. Brave browser, Chrome, Safari. You should always keep in mind that you can't just prioritize a browser or a OS. You can't just make an assumption that people don't use OS, people don't use Safari anymore, people don't use Linux, right? There are a lot of people which use everything. So you need to make sure and keep it in mind that it's easily accessible to everybody from everywhere. The last point that we have is you need to be so visually detail oriented that you need to make like Aditi mentioned, you need to keep in mind the user's demand, the client's needs, and you need to perfectly collaborate and communicate with project managers and designers to be a good front-end developer. Moving on. Now, since we talked so much about front-end development, so much about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, now you guys would be like, how do we get started? What do we do? This is a project cloud. So first of all, I would urge you guys to have before starting, I would urge you guys to have like a basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That is basic. Even if you don't want to go into front end, it just doesn't hurt to have that knowledge. You'll just be one up, even if you're a backend developer. And if you're a full stack, there's just too much power that you have. Now, I would urge you, if you have like the basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, what you do is make a form, add color to it, open it on your mobile phone. Try to make it responsive, make it look good on your mobile phone, tablet, PC, laptop. And if you're feeling crazy, you can pick one of these projects from the project cloud and just dive right into it. Just do it. Make your resume, make a meme page, create an event, make that event's invitation. If you have a lot of skills to show, make a portfolio. What if you're a photographer? Make a portfolio website for your photography. You can do all this. So to create all these amazing websites or like all these amazing products, you would need some resources, right? You would need to learn HTML, CSS from somewhere, React, Angular, from somewhere, right? Next slide. So there are a lot of resources available on the internet. A lot of us have referred to a lot of these resources. There are more on the internet. Internet is a wide place, right? So there are multiple YouTube channels that you can refer to, like Free Code Camp. Sumit already mentioned about Free Code Camp. There are websites, there are YouTube channels. There's everything there. To understand, and W3 Schools and Free Code Camp are one of the best websites that you can use to understand and learn from like different languages or technologies that you want. And there's a lot of YouTube channels, and YouTube channels nowadays are so later, like latest, sorry, latest. They follow the latest trends. They keep up with the trends. They're amazing. So please refer to these. This was all about our front end development. You might be thinking what goes on in the back end side. That will be explained by Pratham. Over to you, Pratham.
I hope I'm visible, right?
Yes, you're visible and audible, Pratham.
Okay, so thanks, Varshita, and hi everyone. So, like, you all must be more curious what actually happens in backend, right? You might be also more like curious at what is basically backend. You might have heard from your peers or from your seniors, like, yeah, ये तो front end वाला task है, the front end guy will handle this. Okay, or this is the backend वाला task, the backend वाला guy, go to backend वाला guy. Okay, so what is actually backend? Okay, what comes in backend? Basically, backend development is nothing. It's the area of web development which mostly focus on how website or a web application will work. Okay, front end development will tell you how the website or the web application will look, but the working relies on the backend. And everything, basically the working, it actually happens behind the scenes. Okay, if you want to relate with the example, it is the same way, just like the restaurant chef and his or her staff who handle all the orders, like without the customer sitting at the table, knowing them, like seeing them, basically. So, but here, instead of cooking food, the backend developer they actually write the code that the web browser or they enable the web browser basically to communicate with the database and the server. The primary role of a backend developer is to ensure that the end user, that is like we get the data or the requested service without a glitch and basically on time. Okay, so that's all about like the intro. Coming to the like working, basically what happens in the working. So there are various like important components in backend. Out of this, the three main importance are like browser, web server, and database. Okay. First of all, from the chat, can anyone just give me 1 second? Can anyone just give me a full form of like URL? And someone just give me some example of like URL. Okay, any example of URL can do. Yeah, you're right. Ritwich, uniform resource locator. Yeah, youtube.com. Right, Ritwich. Okay. So yeah, you all are actually right. So let's see the scenario. For example, Ritwich, he logs on to his computer. He opens up a browser and types www.youtube.com. Okay, so right now the browser doesn't have any data to display. Okay, what actually it does, it sends this request to the router. The router what actually does, it remaps this particular URL with the IP address which it receives from the DNS server. Once it gets the location of the server, it sends or forwards this request to that main server. Okay, then at the main server, once the request is received, it says, okay, this particular is requesting for the home page. Okay, so what it does, it processes the request and sends back the data. And as soon as the data is received at the end, that is the browser will render it towards the user. Basically, browser is nothing but the gateway of the user, that data flow. For example, if the user wants to say save some data in the server, so basically browser is where the user input the data. For example, some data needs to be displayed. So browser is the the flow that basically displays the output. That is the data. Okay, that's all about browser. Coming to web server. Okay, let's take the previous example only. Now let's imagine there is a main server in the organization. Okay, and once the web server, that is the main server, it receives the request. Let's say www.google.com. Okay, so at that time, for example, once the main server receives this request, so it says, okay, this is the request to the home page. So what it does, it transfers this to the another server which handles all this home page server requests. Okay. After receiving the home page server, when it receives the request, it says, okay, so this particular user is asking for the home page. So it starts generating the home page. Okay. For example, the home page might have some static data. So it takes the static data. Then, for example, the home page might require some images. So it adds some images, and there is some styling data, which is actually designed by the front end developer. So it bundles all this data and it forward back to the main server. Then inside, like the main server will forward it back to the browser, which is then displayed to the user. Okay, that's about the web server. But right now, whatever the data is actually present, whatever the data is actually required to create these pages, it actually resides somewhere, and that is nothing known as, but it's called as database. Okay, database is nothing, but it's basically you can say, structured repository of arbitrary information. Means right now, whatever you are looking at, whatever has been displayed on a screen, whatever the video has been rendered, whatever the names you are seeing, whatever the chat box, so all this data, the hyperlink, so everything is actually stored somewhere. Okay, and at the user request, the web server will basically grab this particular data from the particular database and then sends the output. Okay, now that's about the backend working. If you want to get started with it, basically you should have basic knowledge about server, database, and APIs. Once you have knowledge about this stuff, you're good to go. Next we have is API. Okay, that is basically also known as application programming interface. So, like you all know, front-end developer will develop the front-end code, that is the UI components. He might add the layouts, images, everything, right? The backend developer might add all the scripts. Okay, how the data should be processed and all. But there should be some communication, right? Because the front end requires some data from the backend, and backend also requires some input from the user. So this mediator is actually known as API. Okay, so whatever the user requests, basically it goes through the API calls. That it is actually called as API call, and that it goes to the server, and then server can respond back to the browser. As you can see in the right image, there is a reference. Okay, let's take an example of this. Okay, so let's say we go to www.google.com, and from there we search for a query. Let's say Nicole Tesla. Okay, now as you can see, basically we get the search result for Nicole Tesla, and in the search bar you can see the Nicole Tesla is present. So basically what the server did from the query, it just passed the function was Nicole and Tesla. This was a short example of an like API. And basically there are various types of API, like SOAP API was also there, REST API is also there. SOAP API was previously more extensively used, but nowadays it has kind of become more cumbersome towards the developer, since it's kind of more verbose. Okay, but REST API is kind of like more lightweight, and basically as you can see, whenever like if the user wants to like get some details, okay, so in the request header, the user has to just, not the user, the developer has to just code out only the get query. Okay, and if the user want to put something in the server, in the request header, the user or the developer, that is the query, it just have to fill out the post query, and that's all. Okay, and to relate the API in the to give an example of it, let's imagine, let's say you visit your favorite restaurant once in a week. Okay, and today you go to your favorite restaurant and you place an order of burger and a coke. Okay, so the person he takes your order and puts it in the order list. Okay, now let's imagine in the order list there are 10 orders particularly prior before your order, and your order is the 11th one. Now you might think that I have to wait until the 10 orders have been like served, and then my order will be processed. But this is actually not the case. Actually, in the backend, that is the kitchen, there are actually various staff members who are basically set up to like handle particular order. For example, one staff member will be there who just makes, for example, burgers. Another one is there who just cook noodles. Another, for example, the barista might be there. He handles all the coffee related like for food items, right? So food orders, right? So in this case, let's example like one staff member comes in. He says, okay, there are 5 orders for the burger. So he takes out these 5 orders and he starts making them. Another staff member comes in and he says, okay, now there are 4 orders for this noodle. So he takes out these 4 orders and he starts making them. Then the other one comes in and this guy says, okay, only 3 orders are there for, let's say, coffee. Okay, he takes out these 3 orders of coffee and he starts making them. After 10 to 15 minutes, all of these orders have been placed. That means they have been prepared, and then the waiter comes in and they serve the respected customers. Okay, so this is just like the same. Okay, basically there are various, as we can take the last example, when the request from the user, it received to the main server, for example, like www.google.com. So it basically, that means that someone is requesting the home page. So there might be some home page server basically specifically established to handle this type of query. So once the server receives this particular query, it will address this query, create all the whatever the HTML pages or whatever the page required, create the content, and it will forward back to the main server, which in turn will forward back to the main user. Now I do also have one example to give to you about API. So basically, this is a very small script I've been running. So it basically address queries for videos requested. So I have this is a very small Node.js server. I have run on my local network. So whenever on my local network, that is all the devices which I have connected right now, for example, my phone, my laptop, or any other device, if I type in the URL, for example, let's say localhost. Okay, and for example, if I am requesting for /1 video, okay, basically there is a component which handles this query. So as you can see, the video will automatically load, right? And for example, let's say another component handles /2 wala API call. So I will
Can you kind of catch me up on what you see as your role?
So as you can see, there are certain components which handle this particular API. Now let's say I'm suppose I request for a query which is not handled by anyone. Let's say 1000. At that time, it will give error that is cannot get /1000 because no one is handling this particular API. Okay. So this was just a very small demo. Now you might be also wondering like how the streaming platforms actually stream like many videos or such content to many viewers, right? You might have basically the streaming platforms, they have gamed up their level. Okay, they have created a very high level architecture which is able to handle every type of API call. You might have also heard the news about like Hotstar was able to stream 1.2 crore viewers in the India-Pakistan match, right? 1.3. Okay, so this is not just for Hotstar, but Hotstar was also able to handle 5.2 crore of viewers in the past. Okay, and this is not about this platform, but when you come in backend and when you're about to stream, the problem is never about streaming. Okay, let's say there are 10 crore viewers right now watching India Pakistan match, and at the current moment, let's say Dhoni gets out. Okay, or for example, Virat Kohli gets run out. Okay, now let's imagine 5 crore viewers just change their mind and say, okay, I don't want to watch this match again. So what they do is they just exit that. Okay, right now there nothing happens because no one has requested something new content. Right? They just have exited. Okay, now let's imagine from the remaining 5 crore viewers, 3.2 crore viewers say, okay, I'm changing my mind. I want to watch something else. Okay, so they just press back button. Now, at this particular time, there are actually various services running at the backend server. That is, the API calls would be called, right? So there might be some service like which handles suggestion. Okay, so which kind of suggestion service might be running, which handles basically gives a suggestion to the user for new content. Another one might be login service. Like this, there might be many services running behind, okay, at the backend. So just imagine 3.2 crore basically API calls will be made at the time of the server. Like it will be given to the server. The server will be over them at that time. Okay. So basically, what actually happens is the server kind of gets hanged. Okay. Initially, it might be able to handle those requests, but later on, it will happen that it will be in like not responding state. And you might have encountered such situation like during university exams, right? Like sometimes the server does not respond. Sometimes it's like very slow. Like it gets loading very slow. So this is the issue. The server is actually overlaid with extra requests which it can't handle. And this is what the fun we have at the backend. And this was all about like backend. Now, if you want to get started with the backend, I would suggest first you should know like basic data structures. Okay, knowing basic data structures is okay, but knowing algorithms is also kind of give you an edge over. Why? Because sometimes you might never know that you have to handle some situation. So for that you might require some algorithm. So you may never know. And for languages and framework, basically there are certain languages in backend use. For example, PHP is there, Java, then Python is there, Django, some frameworks like Django, Ruby on Rails, and Laravel is also present. Talking about database, where there are various database, you can start with SQL, then you might go also like MariaDB. RealM is also a type of database. It depends upon what database you want to learn. Real hands-on experience, I would suggest you should start with mini projects. Okay, you should build the projects from scratch. At that time only you will get to know like real hands-on experience about like how this particular component works. And for contents to watch, I would suggest like everyone know, FreeCodeCamp and Geeks for Geeks are go-to website for every web developer. Okay, so either it be front end or either it be back end. You might find resources and content on this particular website. And if you want to work something which like Laravel, or for example, you might say like it's a framework of PHP. So I personally refer code step by step. And yeah, that's all about the backend, and this is what actually happens in backend. Yeah. So I guess now Sumit will give you a live demo of how to host your own website. So over to you, Sumit.
Thank you, Prathamesh. Okay, so I'll be sharing my screen now. Okay. Okay. So for making a website, you need to know what HTML is, right? So for creating an HTML page, you need to uh, it's a markup language, so you need to code it. So let's start from the basic. So this is what this is. Many of you may know what this is, right? Many of you know, have already worked on HTML and CSS and JavaScript. Yeah, very good, Arya. It's a VS Code. It's a text editor for writing code. You can literally make index HTML on Notepad, but why use Notepad when you have something fancier, you know? So, and it also gives you a really cool feeling of coding and all, you know? If your father walks into your room and sees that, hey, he's coding, yeah, it's really great to see the view, right? So let's start by making an index page for HTML, okay? Let's make an HTML page and try to host it so that everyone that is joined into the meeting can join, can access the web page. Okay. So don't worry about the markup language. I'll be writing some code. Don't worry if you don't know it. You haven't started it yet, so it may seem overwhelming, but don't worry. As you get started, you will learn it in no time. HTML is the simplest language of all. It's just a markup language. It's not even a programming language. There's a difference between markup language and programming language. Okay. So I'll just make a simple HTML page. Until then, you can type into the chat box what you want to see on the body of the page. Okay. Give me any names or any content you want to be printed on the screen. Okay. Let's give head. I'm giving head. Nice. What should be the name of the website? Okay. I see anime memes, Marvel, Ice Karate memes. Okay. Let's give tribute to the best meme page. Okay. Now whatever we write into the body will appear on the page. Okay, so give me some suggestions to what to write on the body of the web page. So we have memes, or give me something more specific, right? Cyberpunk color scheme, very lorem. Oh, we have Raghav Sharma who is saying lorem. He's an actual developer here. Okay, college ka funny side. Okay, let's just say we write here. What should we write here? Let's just write Mike, Raj. Kahoot players know the reference. Let's say another line. Joe has Ligma. Okay. Yeah, welcome to GDSC. Pretty straightforward and professional. Yeah, I should go with it, right? Welcome to GDSC. Wow, I forget spellings now. Uh, Give it a different styling. Okay, so this is our normal HTML pages. Okay, he's saying add links of GDSC. All right, we'll do that later. Okay, so this is a normal, this is the most basic web page you will ever see. Let's see if it works in my machine at least. Okay, so I have saved it here. So yeah, it's working on my machine. Mike Raj, Joe has Ligma, and welcome to GDSC. So if I give this link to you guys, will that work on your machine? Can I drop yes or no if that is true? No, correct. Okay, Pranav is saying yes, maybe. It is not hosted. Very good, Swanand. It is not hosted, obviously. No, no. Yes, you guys are correct. It will not be visible to you guys if I send this link to you. So for that, we need to host the website. What hosting means is just giving your source code, that is this file, to someone who has access to the internet so that he can, you know, connect it to the internet, and anyone with the connection to the internet can access to your website. So for this tutorial, we will be using GitHub. Do you guys have any idea about what is GitHub? Just drop a yes or no. If you guys know GitHub, just drop a yes. Okay, Tejas, Ayush, very good. Swanan, Shujit, we can upload our projects. Yes. Yeah. Also, okay. So a lot of you guys know what GitHub is. Very good. That is a really good thing. If you don't, please go today after this event. Open a GitHub account because it is really important. Okay. It's actually a version control system provided by Microsoft. Okay. So if you want another session on version control, what is version control and all, you can give it in the feedback form. We will arrange a session on uh, that version control also. But in our context, we are going to use GitHub for hosting our website. Now, hosting is what? We will be creating a folder. So repository is just GitHub's way of saying folder, a fancy name. Okay, can you guys suggest me some name for the repository? Or should we just go with bookish octospoon? What is this? Suggestions, man. Okay, GitHub stonks. Guys, tell me the repository, or should I just take this? Okay, just anytime. Bookish octospoon. Forget the formalities and just create the repository. Okay, so here's the repository. It has been created. Now you just need to upload your file so that you can give it to GitHub Bhaiya, and GitHub Bhaiya will host it to the internet. And you just say thank you to GitHub Bhaiya. Okay, so this is a repository. You can add your file using this cool way, using Linux and writing each command and all. But we will use the most boring way: upload an existing file like a 5-year-old does. Drag and drop. Yeah, guys, I'm in third year, by the way, and I'm dragging and dropping. Okay, first commit. Let's give it. I don't even know spellings. Commit. Okay, so here our repository is created and our index.html is now on our repository. Now to host this file, we have a feature in GitHub called Pages. GitHub Pages allows you to host your website so that it can be accessible to anyone who has connection to the internet, of course. So let's select the branch and just click on save. So it's saying your site is ready to be published. It is not yet published. It will take some time. If you go to this website, it will just give you a 404 error. It isn't ready yet. So until it is getting cooked into the microwave, let's turn towards free code camp that we have been talking about throughout the event. Okay. So what is Free Code Camp? Free Code Camp is just a platform for our coders, rookie coders, basically the one who are just beginning to code and who want to learn various things and all. So they have different courses in there. So for example, responsive web design is about web development. They have about JavaScript, front-end libraries. If you want to learn React, which is the most trending technology in the industry right now, you could also learn it here. They have about like 10 or 12 courses about each and everything. So for now, if you want to get started with HTML, you should start with responsive web design. And they have the first module for basic HTML and HTML5. So I have already completed it. Subtle flex. Okay. And so let's start with this. As soon as you get into the module, you will be presented with 3 sections. The left one, it tells you about the theory, about the tags and all, what tags you are going to use in your practical and all. In the middle, you have to code, and in the right, it shows you the output. Okay. So whatever you change will be reflected on the output. See? So it will give you challenges like here. To pass the test on this challenge, change your H1 elements text to say hello world. Now we have done it. So it will check if you are right or wrong, and it will give you the result. Okay. So like this, you have to complete the 28 modules and you will learn HTML in no time. It will literally take like an hour to learn HTML. That's it. So this is the easiest way to start getting started. I'm not saying that you will learn all about HTML here, but you have to start from somewhere, right? So this is the best way to start. Free code camp. It's as the name suggests. Somebody in the comments asked, "Is it free?" The website's name is Free Code Camp, by the way. So it is free. Yeah. So each of these courses is free. And once you complete all the courses, they also have a section for projects. So they give you certain tasks to do on a HTML page. And once you complete all the projects, they also give you a certification. So if you complete all these projects, you will receive a certification on responsive web design, and that you can attach to your resume or your LinkedIn profile anywhere. Okay. So this is what free code camp is. I think you should, if you are starting, if you are a beginner, you should give it a try. Even if you are intermediate, if you know HTML, CSS, and all, here you also have libraries, right? Where is it? Yeah, the libraries. Here you can literally learn all the libraries: Bootstrap, then you have jQuery, Sass, React, Redux, React and Redux. See, so you have almost everything here out here in the free. You don't have to pay for any Udemy course or anything if you are getting started on web development, because starting things are really easy. Okay, so let's go to our website that we just created. Is it ready? Okay, so your site is published at this bookish octospoon. See, so if I give you this link right now, will it work? It's in the chat box. Try running it in your machine, and let me know in the comments if it works. Well, it should work. After all, I have created it. Yes, it's working. Varshita is giving us a thumbs up. So that's it, guys, from my side. If you guys have any queries, please drop them into Q&A. We'll be answering them now. We also have platform. Tell us how you liked it, and give us some suggestions if you don't. Okay. So drop your queries. Thank you. You can drop your queries, guys, in the chat. Anything about internships and all.
I think there are a few questions for you.
Okay. VS Code or Dev C++, which is better to start? VS Code is a code editor. Okay, so you can literally code into any language. Dev C++ is only for C++, if I'm not wrong. Okay, so VS Code, if you want to do HTML and all, it is a great way. Okay, you can also do C++ on VS Code. It doesn't matter. It depends on your choice at the end of the day. What is difference between library and a framework? Uh, Uh, Example of a library is React, of course, and framework is Angular. Some of you may not know what React. These are front-end frameworks and libraries actually. So frameworks and library, these terms will be used a lot in your coming days, I think. Yeah. So let me differentiate between those two so you have the clear idea. So what library and framework is hidden in their name. That's how I have recalled it. Okay. So library, in general, the meaning of library is a room filled with books. You just go and pick one to get your whatever you want to read and all. So in the same way, in coding, library is something it's a set of code, and you just have to call it into your code. So at the end of the day, the flow of your program is in your hands. Okay, but what happens in a framework? So as a frame, in general, what a frame is, a photo frame, a frame is a structure in which you have to plug your photo so that it becomes a picture frame. So what happens in a framework is there are predefined rules, and you have to provide your code into those rules so as to work, the application would work. So that's what a framework is. So framework, at the end of the day, the flow control hand of the, but in lab flow control is user. React is a library, and Angular is a, so it's up to you if you want to start with React or Angular. Both are good, by the way. Okay. How can we learn about ethical hacking? We already did a session on that. Okay. Uh, Please be specific to the uh, event. Ask about web development. What is SCSS? Is it better than CSS? So SCSS is just a preprocessor. We can't say like we can't compare CSS because SCSS was made to uh, make it more efficient to use the CSS. So it helps you making variables and all, and it helps you run CSS in older version of browsers. So we can't just compare SCSS and CSS. When to apply for internships? As long as you have the skills, you can start from any time. Okay, there isn't any time frame that you should be aware of, that you should start applying for internships and all. Okay.
You should keep in mind that internships are also for learning. So even if you're learning some stack, as long as you know the basics, you can apply and you can learn while doing the internship as well.
Yes. So, as a beginner, which language is better to learn and when should we start, in FE or SE? Bro, you should learn to start in FE only because
The
it
sooner you
will come in
start, the
handy
better.
sooner you start. Any competitive coding events for learning via experience? Competitive coding events, we actually have already uh, tried to host various data structures and algorithms. We didn't get any major response on that. So if we actually get response, we could actually arrange some competitive coding events. Okay, where to apply for internships, Varshita?
There are a lot of websites where you can apply for internships, some of them being coed.tech, angel.co. I'll put the links in the chat. As long as you have, you can apply for internships on LinkedIn as well. You can either go on Google and search where can I apply for internships, what kind of internships. You can get certain links from there, and I'll share certain links that I have with you guys in a bit. Please ask your questions in the Q&A section, guys. If you're asking in the general chat, it's going to get crowded and you won't be able to understand. We won't be able to see if whether you've asked a question. Which one?
Okay, so next question. What is Golang? Where do we use it in web development? Go is like programming language and it is used in the backend. Okay. So where do we use it? Is used to make servers. So as Pratham said that in server you just have to like integrate it with the front end using APIs. So that's where Go language will be used to set up connection between the front end and the server. Okay, where is which language is used for AI and machine learning? We already did an event on AI and machine learning. Language used for it really depends on your use case, but mostly we use Python because it is good for data visualizations and all. Uh, should we directly start web dev from free code camp or we need to do basic course first? Free code camp is the basic course you should do, Shantanu. Okay, if you want to start. There is no basic course.
What you need to do is just get into it. Free Code Camp also, like Smith said, gives you like a very basic overview. It starts from scratch and takes you up to the advanced level as well. Even W3 Schools does that. Even YouTube has a lot of resources, like all three of us mentioned. As a beginner, which language is better to learn? For web development, you need to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. For to start web development, you need to know that. At least the basics, you need to be clear with that. Sumit, maybe you want to answer Aditya's question. Is there any real
Is there
ideal
any
roadmap?
to start coding, or we have to start anything anytime you want? Okay, so the thing is, roadmaps can be good in some way, but if you want to actually, roadmap are made to cover every topic in a programming language. So it may cover the topics that are not usually used. So you should actually, work on actual projects to learn what use cases, so that you come to know about various technologies and all, and what part of coding that should be implemented in your code and all. So following a roadmap is good, but learning yourself is better. Okay. What's the scope percentage of this field? Because now everyone is running behind deployment and all, and more into data science, AI, ML, and cyber security. Scope, bro, just follow. If you like web development, if you like creating stuff, then just follow full stack development. It's up to you. Okay. If you are
And
actually
then
good at
later,
it, if you are
yeah,
actually
go
good
ahead.
at it, if you are actually good at it, you may land a pretty sick job. Okay, so if you are good in AI ML, you can go after that. If you are good in cyber security, you may go after that.
You can integrate all of this with web development, by the way. You can add ML into your project, whichever you're developing, or maybe cybersecurity comes in handy with that. Maybe create a very secure website, maybe create a dashboard, which is like super secure, nobody can hack into it.
So Akhil has answered the AI ML question. Personal advice: try not to jump directly on AI ML. First, learn a programming language, learn DSA, and practice AI ML or any development stuff. Yeah. Does our college conduct hackathons? Do they? Mm,
College का नहीं पता, but clubs do collaborate with people and conduct hackathons. Yes, college clubs do.
yes,
Are
Praneeth,
there any other
creativity.
questions, guys? Can you please tell something about the honor course provided by college? Honor course provided by college. I think we're looking for more web development related questions, Vishwas. You can ask your mentors about this question. Honor course. For now, they provide IT, data science, AI/ML, and IoT. That I can answer. Someone asked how to apply to be in Google Developer Student Clubs. Where can we apply? So this year's team is full, sadly, but next year you can apply. How to develop logic in programming? Logic develops in your mind, buddy. You just use syntax and you just implement it in your programming.
Practice it day and night.
Are there any other questions, guys? And please fill the feedback form.
Guys, tell me.
Feed Feedback form is pinned to the general chat box. Please fill it. Some of you had suggestions on what is that, version control. If you want get version control के ऊपर कोई event, you can put it in the feedback form, like Sumit said.
Which language do game developers use? They use Unity, which uses C++. Should we join any class for language, or YouTube and other sites are sufficient? Oh, so you are asking if you want to pay or not, right? If you want to do a paid course or not. So it depends on you, right? If you are doing a free course, you are not accountable to anyone. If you are doing a paid course, you are like, भाई पैसा गया है यार, पढ़ाई तो करनी पड़ेगी. Then you do the stuff more seriously. But if you are more disciplined, then you should go for the free content. Literally, everything is available on YouTube and all. Questions?
If you have questions about anything we said during the presentation, you can also ask now.
Ask about backend stuff. Pratham is really good at it.
Pratham is here, guys. Come on, use this chance. Ayush More, what do you mean by Discord channel question mark? Are you asking if we have a Discord channel?
Pratham,
There's a question for you.
Backend is kind of hard, but once you know, like you get to use, means once you practice, it will be kind of fun when you start with the backend.
if you don't have any motivation to start backend, just know that it pays really good. Do it for the money if you want. It's really great.
Yeah, wait, you should. I guess you should start with Java basically, or you can also start with Python. Python doesn't have any, like syntax. Means it does have syntax, but it's kind of more easy than Java. So I guess you can start with Python, and you can also like for the framework you could use Django also. Then
Guys, some of you asked about the ethical hacking, some question about ethical hacking. There's an event that we conducted on ethical hacking, and the link is in the chat. Asim Khandegar has put the link in the chat. You can get the event on YouTube from there.
Aman is saying
Well, that's it.
is SQL all there to server interaction? No, there are different variations to it. We have NoSQL, different types we can store the data in MongoDB. You will learn about them in the third year in the DBMS chapter. You know.
like types of SQLs are like they are used in various places. For example, even in Android, SQLite version is used. Like all the core components are only present and extra features will be removed out.
About the Discord channel, no, we don't have a Discord channel.
When Collage will teach us programming and what will they teach? Well, Collage will start programming in your first year only. They will teach you about Python, I guess. For first year, we had Python in the second semester, I think. So Collage will teach you programming language just once. In the second year, you will start with DSA. So have faith in Collage. How often do you conduct events? Okay, so there is not a frequency, the need of the students, what they want to learn, and according to that, based on that, we decide if we want to create an event or not. So it's basically about the interactions, how many people will join.
Pratham,
Okay,
Jagriti has a question for you. Can you brief a bit more about backend? What is a backend developer supposed to do mainly?
so like as I said, backend is all about like whatever the work is there present. So like the processing or for example you're requesting something. So that actually happens in backend. And yeah, the front end, like whatever you see, for example, let's say you're visiting a login page, right? So you write your traditionals like your username, your email, or let's say the password. So basically that needs to be like checked somewhere, okay? And right now your browser doesn't have that many like computation power. So what actually happens is that request is sent somewhere, that it is sent to a server, and the server basically like runs a configuration, like it runs its logic. It check across the database that is this user particular present or not, and yeah, then it will return some another query or some let's say the user was registered, so it sends like the other page. If it is not registered, so it just sends like error. That's up for the backend. Like this is the basic task, but there are like various other tasks also. For example, now I just presented na, the streaming wala stuff. So for the streaming also, like on YouTube, you might see na, that you seek the video, right? Forward, backward. Okay. So basically, when you like reverse the video, like go backward, at the time again an API call is made at the backend. So the video will now start sending the like the bytes from that point onwards. So that also some things like complex things basically that come under backend.
So does cloud come into picture at backend or it's during deployment or some other phase? Cloud can be is on it's on you, your use case. So as he gave the example of Hotstar, India versus Pakistan, how was the server able to request? Because cloud was there, right? Cloud there is load balancer. So it is load balancer is it's like a cloud service they provide so that if a lot of people come onto your server, how to balance the load of this amount of people. So yeah, cloud plays important and if your application is working on a large. How to be a member of GDS club for iSquare IT? We just told. Hotstar
Yeah.
team was yes, they were appreciated a lot. How many other clubs? Whoa, guys, ask question related to web. Can you? Are there any more questions? Development and all. Is API bridge between browser and API is the bridge between front end and server? Yes, you are correct. Have you guys how you guys started your developer journey? iSquare IT. Collage. Yes, totally. iSquare IT collage.
Guys, if you have
Web.
any other questions you might ask, please, or we'll conclude the session. Has everybody filled the feedback form? That's one question from me. Please answer in the chat box. If you have still not filled the feedback form, please fill it. That's for your own good as well. You can suggest whatever events you want us to conduct next, and we will.
Something about Web3.
Oh
So
yeah, we
do
can elaborate
so
on that.
do you know what Web 1 and Web 2 are, Raghav? So that explaining about Web 3. If you know what Web 1 and Web anybody in the chat knows what Web 1, Web 2, Web 3 are? Not completely. Okay. Mm. Yeah, Siddharth, correct. Web zero interaction, just one-way communication. The host used to create website just for the sake of information. User can't interact with the website. That is Web 1. From this, you can actually predict what Web 2 was. Yeah, Web 2 interaction two-way, correct. But the main point in Web 2, Web 3 is the way of storing the database. In Web 2, the organizations, the big organizations are in the control of the database, and that is centralized database. Okay. In Web 3, it's all about decentralization in Web 3, blockchain and organization. So only, yes, correct, Siddharth. Decentralization, decentralized and all nodes rule. Nodes in the sense users. It is for the users, by the users. Blockchain is a really trending technology and a domain, sorry, domain to go into in this months. So try blockchain, guys. Try to learn more about blockchain because it's really trending. They will actually pay you loads of money for the internship and stuff. NFTs, yeah. Don't get me started on it.
Guys, any web related questions? We're gonna wrap up in 5 minutes. Well, that was 5 minutes ago. We're gonna wrap up in 2-3 minutes. Parth, what do you mean by just HCI? What do you want to know about it? Well, HCI is human computer interaction. It's basically, oh, good, you're exploring that field, so you might know about it. It's basically the interaction between computers and humans. It's a study, it's like that field is to study about the interaction between humans and computers. And you'll also have a subject in your third year regarding this. HCI is a subject.
He wrote a blog on it. Very good part. Big ups.
Yeah. Share it with us, we'll read it.
Yeah, share it in the chat. Everyone will read it. We'll give you a free shout out in 81 attendees. Okay, excluding you, 80 attendees. Free 80 views. Yeah, so guys, Parth has shared a blog on HCI if you want to check it out. Okay, guys, we had around how much? 120,
20. Yeah.
130 attendees. Thank you, Akhil. Yeah, so thanks everyone who joined, who has been through an hour, to one and a
Hour and a
half
half.
hour. Mm. Thanks for being throughout the event, the 80 attendees that lasted till the end. My ex didn't. But thank you for joining, everyone. And hope you all like the event and will come back for the next events that we host at GDSC I2IT. Thank you, everyone, for joining. You can leave the meeting now. Thank you
Thank
all
you,
for joining.
everybody. We had great fun.
Thank you.